Hi guys, welcome back to the Home and Homestead. If you're new, I'm Rebecca. Today we're going to be heading to the kitchen and you'll join me while I prepare a pantry staple. I'll be refilling the pantry and making some homemade brown sugar. I'll show you 3 ways that you can easily make your own brown sugar at home to create this pantry staple. So let's head to the kitchen and make some homemade brown sugar and refill our pantry. So here I have my brown sugar container from my pantry, and as you can see, I'm very low. So I'm going to make some homemade brown sugar, and I'll show you 3 ways in which you can make it at home. Inside here I have some terracotta brown sugar bears. I'm just going to place them into some hot water in this bowl here. That'll rehydrate them, and it'll be all ready for when we refill our container for the pantry. We just dump out the little bit I have in here. And then we can refill this with the fresh homemade brown sugar that we'll make today. So the first way that we'll make some homemade brown sugar is by using a food processor. You're going to want to use a food processor rather than a blender, because a blender will pulverize that sugar too much and you'll end up with a powdered sugar. So the first way is a food processor, and brown sugar simply consists of molasses and white sugar or granulated sugar. So here I have my sugar container from the pantry. If you would like to make a light brown sugar, you'll add 1 tablespoon of molasses to 1 cup of sugar. If you want to make a dark brown sugar, you'll add 2 tablespoons of molasses to 1 cup of sugar. So I'll start with making 2 cups of brown sugar per way I'm going to show you today. So I'll add 2 cups of white sugar or granulated sugar to the food processor, and a 1/4 cup of molasses. This is the molasses that I like to use. You can use whichever variety or brand that you prefer. I'll just add the lid to our food processor. We're just going to pulse this until that molasses incorporates into the sugar and ends up with the consistency of a nice soft brown sugar. Let me scrape down the sides here. We'll continue to pulse. And I just processed this for about 30 seconds. Now we have some nice soft homemade brown sugar. Let me add this to my pantry container. I can show you the next way to prepare some homemade brown sugar. Now another method you can use for making some brown sugar is using your KitchenAid stand mixer. I have my flex edge attachment. This works nice for scraping the edge while we're mixing the sugar and molasses. So again, I'm going to make 2 cups of brown sugar. So I have 2 cups of white granulated sugar in the mixing bowl. And to that I will add a 1/4 cup of molasses. Now we'll mix this on a medium setting until that molasses has incorporated into that white granulated sugar to create a nice, fluffy and soft brown sugar. This has been mixing for about a minute. We have a nice, soft and fluffy brown sugar. So let me just add this to my pantry container, and we can go over the 3rd way to make some homemade brown sugar. Now for the 3rd easy way to prepare some homemade brown sugar, we're going to use the Bosch Universal Plus mixer. I like to use my stainless steel mixing bowl, and I use the Pro Series cookie paddles and the stainless steel whip drive. So to this mixing bowl, we'll add our 2 cups of sugar, and our 1/4 cup of molasses. We'll just mix this on a medium setting until we get a nice fluffy brown sugar consistency. All right, it took about 10 seconds to get to this point. We have a nice soft and fluffy brown sugar. So let me add this to my pantry container, and now my pantry will be all stocked up again with some homemade brown sugar. All right, so here we have some homemade brown sugar. By doing the 3 different ways that I showed you today, 2 cups each, we ended up filling this about 1/3 of the way. So what's your favorite way you think for making homemade brown sugar? We went over 3 really easy ways using the food processor, KitchenAid stand mixer, and the Bosch Universal Plus mixer. The KitchenAid stand mixer took about a minute to make, food processor took about 30 seconds, and the Bosch mixer took about 10 seconds. All by just combining some granulated or white sugar with some molasses. Now for storing, I like to put some brown sugar bears into my brown sugar, and that just helps to keep it soft. And it's ready to go for recipes. Well, I hope you enjoyed our time together in the kitchen today where we made some homemade brown sugar. I showed you 3 very easy ways to make this at home, and that way you can fill your pantry and keep your brown sugar container filled and ready to go for whatever baking needs you have. If you'd like some ideas or inspiration on other homemade items and DIY projects, be sure to check out my playlist on the topic, as well as a number of different recipes and food preservation techniques in those playlists as well. Well, if you're new to the channel and haven't done so yet, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. So please be sure to hit that subscribe button below if you haven't done so yet, and continue to watch my channel, The Home and Homestead, for some more homemade, homegrown, and home style inspiration. Well, I surely hope that you're having a wonderful day. See you next time. Take care.